So nucleophilic substitution reactions done. Now the elimination reaction, which is very small part, and you just need to remember one rule and the related reactions. And that is easy part, much easier than what we have done in nucleophilic substitution reaction. Divya, good evening. So now the elimination reaction. When a haloalkane or beta hydrogen atom is heated, I'll tell you what is beta hydrogen atom with alcoholic solution of potassium hydroxide. So this is very important conversion reaction also. Alcoholic KOH. There is an elimination of hydrogen atom from beta carbon and a halogen from alpha carbon. Alpha carbon is that one on which halogen is attached. Alpha carbon is that one on which halogen is attached. The adjacent carbon is beta carbon, and the hydrogen on that adjacent carbon is beta hydrogen. So if I have written one element like CH3, CH2, CH, Cl, CH3. In this case, this carbon is alpha carbon, and these two carbons are beta carbon because these are adjacent to alpha carbon. Alpha carbon is that one which has the functional group. Here the group only, that is chlorine, other than hydrogen. Okay? So anything other than hydrogen will have importance. That carbon will be alpha carbon, and hydrogens on that carbon, alpha hydrogen. These hydrogens, beta hydrogen. These three hydrogens, beta hydrogen. And if you move further, this will be gamma carbon and gamma hydrogens. So this rule says that if you have haloalkane where there is beta hydrogen, okay, then in that case, if you get it reacted with alcoholic solution of potassium hydroxide, alcoholic KOH, then elimination of hydrogen and halogen will take place. As a result, an alkene is formed. We will talk about the reaction. Okay? Since beta hydrogen atom is involved in elimination, it is called beta elimination reaction. So sometimes it will be referred to as beta elimination reaction also. So you need to remember, if it is beta elimination reaction, we are talking about elimination of halogen and hydrogen from adjacent carbons and resulting in double bond. So this is what we are talking about. Here this is halogen. It means this is alpha carbon. This one is beta carbon. If we get it reacted with alcoholic KOH, then what will happen? Halogen from the alpha carbon and hydrogen from the beta carbon will go away. Okay? And a double bond will appear. Okay? Now, why this happens? Because of alcoholic KOH. Now, very important rule I am going to talk about. Okay? If there is possibility of formation of more than one alkene due to the availability of more than one beta hydrogen atom, as I explained in the previous case, suppose you have CH3, CH2, CH, PR, CH3, and you get it reacted with alcoholic KOH. There are two possibilities because you have two beta carbons. So this is alpha, this is beta, this is beta. And the rule is that halogen will go from alpha and hydrogen will go from beta carbon. So there are two possibilities. Hydrogen can go from here or from here. In this case, which one will be the major product? Whether double bond here or double bond here. Both are the possibilities. Double bond can be formed at two places. So for such cases, there is a rule which is known as Set-Zepf rule. The pronunciation is same, Set-Zepf rule, because in German this Z is pronounced as S and S is pronounced as Z. Set-Zepf rule. What is this rule? This rule says that in dehydrohalogenation, it is actually dehydrohalogenation because hydrogen and halogen, these two go away. So dehydrohalogenation. In dehydrohalogenation reactions, the alkene having a greater number of alkyl groups attached to doubly bonded carbon atoms is preferred. So that will be produced. That will be the major product greater than 95%. So you will mention that one. I'll explain it with example. Suppose you have this one, which I showed you earlier also. Now there are two possibilities that this chlorine and this hydrogen, these two go away. In that case, double bond will be formed here. And another possibility is that chlorine goes from alpha obviously and hydrogen goes from here, CH3. In that case, double bond will be formed here. According to Set-Zepf rule, that product will be the main product in which the double bonded carbons will have maximum number of alkyl groups. So doubly bonded carbons are these two, and here these two. In first case, this carbon has one alkyl group, and this carbon of the double bond has one alkyl group. Total number of alkyl groups 2. However, in second case, this carbon of the double bond has one alkyl group and the other carbon does not have any alkyl group attached to it. There is just one alkyl group in this case. So in this particular case, 80% butene, 20% but1ene will be produced. But if there is larger difference in number of alkyl groups, it will usually be 95% and 5%. Is the rule clear? You just need to see where the double bond is there. So all the possibilities, there can be two possibilities. Okay. Out of those two possibilities, you need to consider the carbons of double bond. And then how many alkyl groups are attached to those carbons. The product which has greater number of alkyl groups, total number of alkyl groups attached to doubly bonded carbon atoms will be preferred. That is Set-Zepf rule. Clear? Any confusion, just let me know. Okay, Divya, I'll explain. Okay. With another example, okay. Now suppose you have a compound like this. Okay. Now there are various possibilities here. Okay. Chlorine will go from here, and hydrogen can go either from here or here. This is the same thing, nothing different, because these two methyl groups are similar. These two are attached to same carbon. Okay, so either you consider this one or you consider this one. These are same thing, methyl group. Okay, why? Because you can move this methyl group here and this methyl group here. Still, the compound will remain same. Okay, if you reposition. So one possibility is that chlorine goes from here and hydrogen goes from here. So in that case, the compound will be CH2 double bond C, CH3, CH2, CH3. Another possibility is that chlorine goes from here and hydrogen goes from this beta carbon. So this is beta, this is beta, this one. In this case, it will be CH3, C, CH3, double bond CH, CH3. Now tell me which one will be preferred, first one or second one? Tell me the answer. Okay, good. Arshi, correct. Okay, many correct answers. Ahan correct, Shivangi correct, Yastika correct, Shashwat correct. Good, good. So you need to check the double bond. So first to see the double bond and understand it, okay? Those who are not clear, double bond, double. So you need to consider the carbons which are doubly bonded. And then you need to see how many alkyl groups are attached to these carbons. So there is no alkyl group here, and here you have one, two alkyl groups. In second case, this carbon has one, two alkyl groups, and this carbon has one alkyl group. So here in first case, you have total two alkyl groups. In second case, you have total three alkyl groups. Three alkyl groups will be preferred. So this will be the major product according to Sedgwick rule. Fine? Good. Now the question. Predict all the alkenes that would be found by dehydrohalogenation of the following halides with sodium ethoxide in ethanol and identify the major alkene. Question is, what alkenes will be produced? So it is first 1-bromo, 1-methyl cyclohexane. So if it is 1-bromo, 1-methyl cyclohexane, these hydrogens I have shown, these two hydrogens will be everywhere. Here also CH2, here also CH2, here also CH2. Okay. But these carbons, these two are beta carbons. So halogen will go from the alpha carbon, and hydrogen in this case can go from any. It is symmetrical on both sides, whether you consider this or you consider this, it is symmetrical. So hydrogen can go from any, and the product will be double bond, either this side or this side. Product will be same. So in this case, bromine goes from alpha and hydrogen goes from this beta carbon. Remember, the reaction is very similar to alcoholic KOH. It is dehydrohalogenation. Okay. So dehydrohalogenation is always beta elimination in these cases, whether it is done by alcoholic QH or it is done by sodium ethoxide and ethanol. And this is, you need to remember, these will be used for conversions. So just memorize it, say to yourself 2 3 times. Dehydrohalogenation is always beta elimination, and beta elimination as per Setzef rule. Setzef rule says that that product will be preferred in which doubly bonded carbons have greater number of alkyl groups. Doubly bonded carbon atoms have greater number of alkyl groups, that will be preferred. And dehydrohalogenation can be done by alcoholic QH or ethoxide and alcohol, sodium ethoxide and ethyl alcohol, for example, in this case. If you can memorize right now, it will be very easy for you to answer the questions later on. Yastika, symmetrical part, what I am saying here, but if this is alpha carbon, okay, here you have CH2, here also you have CH2. So whether you get hydrogen removed from here, if you get hydrogen removed here and bromine from here, the product will be like this. If you get hydrogen removed from here, product will be like this. But these are actually same. There is no difference in these two. It is only that you have flipped the structure. Yeah, that is because this structure is symmetrical. On alpha carbon, you have bromine and CH3 attached, and on beta carbons, you have both H2S2 attached. So it is symmetrical. On both sides, you have CH2, CH2. Is that clear? Or your question was different, then let me know. Yastika. Okay. Before I move further, just mark your presence, everyone. Write only present keyword. In chat box, you don't need to write anything else. I'll get your name from the chat. Just write present, everyone. Is still not marked by everyone. It means few students are not attentive. Remember, during the class, I'll ask only once to mark your presence. If you need to go away for 1 minute or so, you need to let me know in chat window that for 1 minute you are away from your seat. Now, one important point here. The question, if you see, the question says, predict all the alkenes. It means you need to write both possibilities. If there are two possibilities, you need to write two possibilities. But after that, you need to mention major and minor. Major and minor in such questions where you have to predict all the alkenes. If the question is what alkene will be produced or what will be the product, you need to just mention the major one in that case. Now here in this case, because it is symmetrical, whether double bond is created here or here, only one product will be there. So you will say, thus dehydrohalogenation of this compound gives only one alkene, not two alkenes. So there will be only one, not major or minor. Next, this one, which I have already explained actually. Okay. So in this case, there is a possibility that chlorine obviously goes from here Now you have three beta carbons, out of which these two are symmetrical. These two will give you same compound. So whether you have double bond here or you have double bond here, it is same thing. You have double bond here. This carbon has one chlorine, one methyl group with single bond, and one CH2 with double bond. Okay. But suppose you have double bond here. In that case also, one chlorine, one methyl group with single bond, one CH2 with double bond. So it is same product. So this is one possibility. The other possibility is that chlorine goes from here and hydrogen goes from this beta carbon. Double bond is here. So there are two possibilities, either double bond here or here. So these will be the two products. If hydrogen goes from here, chlorine from here, double bond will be formed here. This possibility. Yeah. If hydrogen goes from here, then this possibility. These two products will be formed, out of which this will be major because it has one, two, three alkyl groups on the doubly bonded carbons. However, here you have only two alkyl groups on doubly bonded carbons. Where double bond will be on third carbon. How? Second carbon, correct. Okay. So in first case on second carbon, in second case on first carbon only. Okay. So remember here in this case, this is just the first carbon because double bond will decide the numbering. So this is first carbon. Here it is second carbon. So that's why but 2 in sorry and but 1. So as per Setzef rule, alkene 1, that is 2-methyl butene, is the major product in this reaction. Why? Because it has 3 alkyl groups attached to doubly bonded carbon as compared to 2. Now the third question. Third question was 2,2,3 trimethyl 3 bromopentane. The structure is like this: 2,2,3 trimethyl 3 bromopentane. Okay. Now here the alpha carbon will be that one on which bromine is there. This is alpha. It means you have beta carbon here, okay, and you have beta. This is beta carbon here. So this one is alpha. This one is beta. This one is beta. Now this one is not beta carbon to be considered because this carbon doesn't have hydrogen. Setzef rule is for those carbons, beta carbons, which have hydrogen. So it's not beta. Okay. So there are two possibilities. Bromine goes from alpha carbon and hydrogen goes from this one. Then double bond will appear here, dehydrogenation. Another possibility, beta goes from here, hydrogen. Then double bond will be here. So these are two possibilities only, out of which one will be the major one. So in this case, in first case, beta goes from here, hydrogen goes from here, double bond here. Okay. In second case, hydrogen goes from here. Okay. So double bond here. That is. So instead of writing on lower side, it is written on upper side. Otherwise, it is same. Now consider the alkyl groups attached on the doubly bonded carbon. So on this carbon, you have one and two alkyl groups. On this carbon of the double bond, you have CH3 attached. Total three as per Z. Okay. Now doubly bonded carbons, these two. On this carbon, no alkyl group. On this carbon, one and two. Total. Okay. Yes. Sure. Both and are correct. Okay. Is that clear, Devya? Why first will be the major product? Because in first you have three alkyl groups attached to the doubly bonded carbon atoms. Three as compared to two. All these are questions which actually appear in board examination. So if you are clear about it, you will be able to answer these questions directly. And also you need to use these in conversions. Many a times you will convert halogens to double bond and then double bond to something else. Extensively used in conversion reactions. Okay. Dehydrohalogenation is extensively used in conversions. So that completes your elimination reactions as well. Yes, that's the rule. So if it is elimination reaction, you need to remember we are normally talking about beta elimination reaction, and for that we have set that rule. Now reaction with metals. And for this, something you have already done in 11th standard as well. Reaction with metals. Who will tell me that the reaction of alkyl halide with one metal, I'm giving you a hint, two molecules reacted in that case. Yes, Sashi, correct. The name of the reaction, alkyl halide reacted with metal, and we got alkanes. One, correct, good. So you know that's why 11th is also important. And if you are planning for NEET and JEE, don't forget about 11th. Yeah, 11th is very important, and that actually decides your rank. So one of the reaction related to reaction with metals is Ward's reaction. Ward's reaction, reaction with sodium, if you remember, we talked about reaction of alkyl halide with sodium. Okay. That was one of it. Yes, Tuhina, correct. Good. So most organic chlorides, bromides, and iodides react with certain metals to give compounds containing carbon metal bonds. There is a bond between carbon and metal. Such compounds are known as organometallic compounds. Organometallic means organic compounds containing metal. That's why organometallic compound. And important. Now, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is one of the important methods used for conversions. Again, now many students come to me that, sir, I'm facing problem in conversions. I'm not able to do conversions. The reason is here. They do not understand that these reactions are actually used for conversions. So you need to be attentive. An important class of organometallic compounds discovered by Victor Grignard in 1900 is alkyl magnesium halide. R is alkyl group, magnesium X is halide. And this is on the name of Victor Grignard is termed as Grignard reagent. R can be any alkyl group, X can be any halide out of chlorine, bromine, and iodine. These reagents are obtained by reaction of haloalkanes with magnesium metal in dry ether. Reaction of haloalkanes with magnesium in dry ether will give you Grignard reagent. So here R is CH3CH2 alkyl group. X is Br. So it is actually R MgX form. That's why Grignard reagent. Now, how the reactions proceed in Grignard reagent and why this is unique, how it is different from other compounds, why the reactions of Grignard reagent are different. For that, we need to understand that in the Grignard reagent, the carbon magnesium bond is covalent. Carbon magnesium bond is covalent, but highly polar. With carbon pulling electrons from electropositive magnesium, the magnesium halogen bond is essentially ionic. Now understand this, okay? And this is, something strange, something different. Magnesium is highly electropositive. Much more than carbon. Why? Because it's a metal. Metals are highly electropositive, much more than carbon. It means carbon comparatively is electronegative as compared to magnesium. So carbon here in the alkyl group is comparatively electronegative. And that's why this alkyl group, as compared to magnesium, attains negative charge. Otherwise, normally you don't see alkyl groups having negative charge. But here, because magnesium is highly electropositive, this alkyl group attains negative charge. And halogen is anyway highly electronegative. So this has negative charge itself. So if you can understand the charge distribution, you will be able to understand why the reactions of R and GX, that is Grignard reagent, are slightly different. Yes, yes, Shika. What I am saying that normally carbon is electropositive as compared to halogen. So if I am talking about Rx, here it will be positive and it will be negative, partial positive charge, partial negative charge. But in case of Grignard reagent, magnesium plays crucial role. This is highly electropositive. And as compared to magnesium, both alkyl group and halogen are electronegative. So this is just comparison here. Okay. Relative electronegativity or electropositivity as compared to magnesium, both carbon and halogen. Carbon of the alkyl group and halogen both are electronegative. So that's why magnesium attains partial positive charge and both alkyl group and halogen attain partial negative charge. Is that clear now? So this plays a role. So Grignard reagents are highly reactive and react with any source of proton to give hydrocarbons. Even water, alcohol, amines are sufficiently acidic to convert them to corresponding hydrocarbons. Hence, when reactions with Grignard reagents are done, we normally use dry ether, because otherwise Grignard reagent reacts even with the moisture of air. So if there is moisture present in air, the Grignard reagent will react with that moisture, not with other compounds we want it to react to. So this is the reaction if Grignard reagent reacts with water. It produces hydrocarbons. And from here, this question actually appears that why is it necessary to use dry ether in the reactions of Grignard reagent? The answer is very simple. Dry ether absorbs the moisture from within the reaction environment. So Grignard reagent is not able to react with the moisture and it reacts with the compound we want it to react to. Yes, they were correct. To prevent it from reacting with moisture. So it is therefore necessary to avoid even traces of moisture from a Grignard reagent. On the other hand, this could be considered as one of the methods for converting halides to hydrocarbon. So this is something if we actually need to convert halide to hydrocarbon, we can use it. Why? Because if you see halides can be converted to Grignard reagent, we have halides, we can convert these to Grignard reagent. Why we are using dry ether? We are using dry ether because otherwise this Grignard reagent will react with the moisture of the air and you will not get Grignard reagent. You will rather get the hydrocarbons. So you can convert alkyl halides to hydrocarbons by first converting these to Grignard reagent and then getting this Grignard reagent reacted with water or even moisture, you will get hydrocarbon. Next is Wurtz reaction, which you have already done. Reaction of haloalkanes with metals. So alkyl halides react with sodium in dry ether to give hydrocarbon containing double the number of carbon atoms present in the halide. Now, can you tell me why do we use dry ether here? We used dry ether in previous case so that the Grignard reagent is not converted to hydrocarbon. Why do we use dry ether here? Yes, Sashi, correct answer. Devya, correct answer. Everyone think and answer. If you give me the answer, that gives me a hint that you are active. You are listening to me. Okay. The reason is otherwise sodium is very reactive towards moisture. Sodium is highly reactive and reacts with the moisture present in the air. So to prevent again the moisture, we use dry ether. So the function of dry ether should be clear. Yes, Vanna, that it absorbs moisture. The reaction, if you remember, it was like this. 2Rx I have written as Rx and XR like this. These two react and produce 2NaX. If this X is bromine, it will be 2NaBr, and this R and R will combine to give you hydrocarbon. And these hydrocarbon will have double the number of carbon atoms. R, R. In one halide, there was only one R. So that completes your reaction with metals also. Okay. So today I'll stop it here. I will not extend the class, and in next class we will start nucleophilic substitution reaction.